Hi everyone, today I'm going to be making sushi. So I'm going to first start off on showing you how the rice is prepared, and then I'm going to go on to making a variety of sushi rolls. So what I've done is I prepared my rice. I purchased a sushi rice from our local grocery store, and what I've done is I steamed it in our steamer. And now that it's cooled down a little bit, it's still warm, which is great because we're going to add the ingredients into the rice to make it a little sticky. So what I'm going to do is I have a bamboo bowl. You can also use a wooden bowl so that it can work well making this rice. So I also have a wooden spoon so that it's easy just to kind of scoop out. So I'm going to put my rice into the bowl. I'm going to just make half, and if I need more, I can always make more later. So we have our rice in our bowl, and then I'm going to be adding in some sugar. I'm going to be adding in pinch of salt. I'm going to be adding in my rice vinegar. So we're just going to put a little bit of this in. Okay. And we're going to mix this around, and then we're going to add in our next ingredients. I'm now going to add in my mirin. And then now I'm going to stir it one more time. And what I'm going to do is I got a clean cloth, and I'm going to cover it and let it sit for a while until I'm ready to use it. So we're just going to cover it. And we're going to set it aside, and now I'm going to prepare the items that I need for this recipe. While my rice is cooling down off to the side with all its ingredients, I'm now going to prepare my items for the sushi. So what I've done is I got a cutting board, making sure it's clean. I have wrapped my bamboo sheet with some saran wrap so that the rice and the seaweed doesn't get stuck to the mat, so that it's easy to roll and easy to come off. I'm going to have a cold bowl of water just set aside so that while I'm putting the rice on, I can dip my fingers in there and I can easily work with the rice, because the rice does become very sticky and we don't want it sticking to my hands. I have a sharp knife just put aside with a damp cloth. I have my seaweed paper, my wraps. So I'm going to start off with some simple wraps, and then I will have some larger pieces for ones that I want to fill with more items. So what I've done as well is I prepared my cucumber. So I made some thin slices of cucumber. I made them a variety of sizes because if it's just cucumber, then they're a little thicker, but if it's going to be with other items, I made them a little thinner. I have some avocado. I have some crab meat, and I have some shrimp. I steamed some yams. So when I was steaming the rice on the top layer, I was also steaming some of the yams so that they're cooked. I also have some salmon. I have some sesame seeds. And then I also have some caviar. So some small caviar for the outside of some of my sushi pieces that I'm going to be making. So we're going to wait for our rice to cool down a little bit more, and then we're going to get started. My rice has been cooling down, and now it's at a room temperature, so I can take my cloth off and just rest that aside. And then we're gonna start off with a basic roll. So I've cut my seaweed wrap in half, and I'm going to lay the shiny part down and the rough part on top. I'm going to wet my hands so that the rice does not stick, and I'm going to grab a fair size amount of rice, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to flatten it out. I'm not going to press too much. I'm going to wet my hands so again the rice doesn't stick to my hands, and we're just going to continue patting it down. If you need to grab more, you can, just to fill in the sides. So we're just going to leave the border at the bottom without any rice, and again the top, so when I roll it, the seaweed can connect and stick together. So we're going to flatten it a little bit more. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to press down in the center where I'm going to place my items. Like if it's a cucumber, I'm going to put the cucumber. So I'm just going to make it like a little indent. So I'm just going inwards. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get my first item, which is the cucumber. So I'm just going to place the cucumber across. Alright, and then we're going to bring this to our mat around here, and then we're going to start rolling. So when you're rolling, you can put your fingers onto the cucumber, then you want to press down, and as you roll, you want to make sure it's nice and firm, and then we continue to roll. And press down every time we're rolling so that it's nice and tight. And there we go. So we have our roll of sushi, and what we're going to do is we're going to cut it in half with our knife, and make sure you have a sharp knife so that it can cut through to the all the way through without breaking up. So we're just going to cut down, and then we're going to cut again in the center. So you can always use the water too, because sometimes the rice tends to stick to the knife. So you can just cut down. And then we have one more each time we'll cut. And then cut one more time so that they're all even size sushis. So there we go. So that's our sushi roll. So we have a nice balance of the cucumber with the rice, and it's a nice portion, nice bite size, easy to eat. So that's going to be our cucumber rolls. And then we're going to go on to another one, which is going to be, I'm going to do an avocado one next. Okay, so we're going to wet our hands to get all that sticky off from the rice. We're going to start off with a half of a seaweed wrap. We're doing the shiny at the bottom and the rough part on the top. We're going to wet our hands, and we're going to get a nice handful of rice, and then now we're going to spread it out, making sure that it's nice and even throughout the whole wrap. Now for the centers of the basic ones, you can choose a variety. I'm going to be making a crab meat one, which is just the crab meat. Shrimp is also great to use, or you can use some salmon. So that's a great option for the very basic single item wraps. And then next after this one, we're going to go on to trying to make, the next one we're going to make is a combination of items. So we'll show you how that's done for that. Now that we have completed some simple sushi rolls, I'm gonna go on to another style. I'm going to start with the seaweed, the same portion size as our simple ones, and I'm going to place the shiny part on the bottom and the rough portion on top. I'm going to wet my hands so that the rice doesn't stick, and this time I'm going to get a little bit more of the rice than the simple ones because we're going to cover the entire top of this seaweed wrap. So we're going to again continuously wet your hands because you don't want the rice to be sticking to your fingers. You want to continue to spread out the rice so that it's nice and even. So we're going to just push it over to all of the edges of your seaweed. And this is going to be the outside of our sushi roll. So this will, once we finish putting our rice and making sure it's nicely even, we're going to flip it over and then put our ingredients inside. Okay, so now wet our hands. You're going to find that you're going to wet your hands quite often because it is sticky. And so we're going to flip our rice over, and we're now going to add in a couple of ingredients. So for this one, I'm going to be adding in some avocado, I'm going to be adding in some crab meat. So this one, I made some smaller pieces so that it's not so full. So we're going to, there we go, some small. And then I'm going to add in some sweet potato in this one. So just some small slices of sweet potato. So we have some avocado, sweet potato, and crab meat in this one. So I'm going to wet my hands again. And then we're going to place our hands down onto the filling. And then we're going to start pressing down and rolling. So we're going to continue to roll until we get to the very end of this wrap. Pressing down helps the roll nicely stick together, and there we go. So it's the entire side outside is filled with the rice. I'm going to cut this on my, we're going to wet the knife so that it's going to go through. So we're going to cut it all the way through. And there we go. We have a nice blend of the 3 ingredients. It looks wonderful. So I'm going to cut it again. And then I'm going to cut them individually. So that they are a nice size of sushi roll. Now for these, I have some sesame seeds, so I'm just going to roll them just a little bit into the sesame seeds, and then I'm just going to place them on my plate. You can also put some caviar on them, so you can put a combination of the two or one or the other. It's up to you. So there's another style of a sushi roll that is quite nice. So there are some great options for making sushi at home. You can make the traditional rolls that you normally eat when you go to a Japanese restaurant, but then you can also put ingredients in there that you wouldn't find but you like eating. So I like to put a variety of items inside of the rolls and sometimes be a little bit more creative. I know Japanese food is quite creative, and It's a technique that took me some time to learn. It's not the easiest. The ingredients are very easy to prepare, but the rolling was the one that took me a while to learn, and the portion of how much I should be putting in each one also took me some time. So that's an idea of how the sushi came out. So I'm going to be making a few more selections of this style of sushi, and then I'm going to put it with some tempura. So I'm going to be also making tempura, and I will show you how that's done. But for this style of recipe, I am now complete, and if you like this recipe and you want to learn more, especially the rice and what to put into it, please subscribe to our channel. Hit that share, like, and that bell notification button.